Hello and welcome to this season's last edition of the ABBA League magazine. After the first two games of the playoff final, the series left from Belgrade to Zagreb, and Crvena Zvezda of course had two match points for their first regional title. On the other hand, Cedevita needed to repeat their semi-final feat where they managed to beat Budućnost after falling behind 2-0. And of course, at the end of the show, we will have shown you the best 5 actions which we thought were the best in this playoff. So, a full house in the Dom Sportova gym for the third game of the final promised to be a memorable night, as Cedevita had nothing to lose after the initial 2 defeats to Crvena Zvezda. The visitors were again forced to play without the injured Maik Cirbes, but took the first lead of the game through Nikola Kalinic, who in fact scored the first 6 points for them. Miro Bilan was the first player to score for the home team, who was soon able to take the initiative in this game as Rokolini Upic scored twice for 3, something he had managed to do the whole season, and by the time he was done, Cedevita was in front by 12-7. It was 14-8 when Carlos Ganec scored his first points of the match. Then Stefan Jovic scored Zvezda's first 3-pointer to close the gap to 3 points. But Cedevita closed the first quarter on a high, as when Marko Tomas stole the ball and scored at the other end, they were in front by 23-16 after the first 10 minutes. Things were nervous at the start of the second period, as Dejan Radonic was quick to receive a technical foul. And that was followed by an unsportsmanlike foul by Boban Marjanovic, after which Stanko Barac was able to score 5 points to give his team a 13-point advantage after an 11-1 partial. Cedevita was continuously making fouls on Boban Marjanovic, but it didn't work every time, and after his dunk the gap was in the single digits again. That was followed by 6 straight points from the home team as they established a 14-point lead for the first time, as Marko Tomas was proving hard to stop. The visitors were still going to Marjanovic most of the time, and he was able to put Bilan into foul trouble. With 5 successive points, Marjanovic was able to cut the deficit to 7, and the teams were separated by 8 come the end of the first half. Immediately after the interval, Cedevita re-established a double-digit lead after Barac's point. Soon after that, the home team was 15 points to the good, as Tomas was continuing with his good display, but was soon forced to go to the bench after committing his 4th foul. But the home team didn't suffer too much because of that, as Barac made sure they opened up a 17-point lead. And little after that, Cedevita was in front by 20 when Luka Babic drove down the lane. Zvezda only scored 3 times from open play in the third period, 2 of which were contributed by Charles Jenkins, who made it 60-44. But in the finish of the third quarter, Cedevita was able to hit twice more from distance, and after 30 minutes they had a gigantic 22-point lead. Soon in the last period, Marjanovic scored a few points to cut the deficit to 17. But the red and white from Belgrade weren't able to take advantage of the fact that Cedevita had almost stopped scoring in the last quarter. They needed more than 5 minutes to score in the last period when finally Nemanja Gordic broke the deadlock. The second and the last bucket in this period was scored by Stanko Barac, who made it 72-51. He finished the game on 15 points and 5 rebounds. The visitors had seemingly conceded to defeat, as Marjanovic was not to play anymore, and his replacement, Marko Tej, then scored to make it 72-56. Cedevita was able to keep distance in spite of their lack of scoring, and in the end they won the game by 72-62, while the visitors were poor from distance in this game, shooting with only 2 3-pointers from their 12 attempts, while shooting as many as 40 free throws, 12 of which they missed. And they lost the game, of course, in the end. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Cedevita for their win. They started much better and we were forced to chase them the whole game. They opened up a big lead in the third period and they kept it till the end. We tried to catch them but haven't managed to do so. And tomorrow is another game.
U trećoj četvrtini držali do kraja, mi smo pokušali da se vratimo, nismo uspjeli, to je to. Sutra nova utakmica i
Well, Cedevita opened the match just the way they planned to and were able to keep it up. They managed to keep distance and we were fighting to come back into the game. And in the end I can be pleased that nobody got injured. In any case, the opponent is very much motivated, as it is obvious we can only rely on one centre, and they fouled Marjanovic a lot. Luckily, it hasn't resulted in any sort of injury. We expected a win, and I think we played with real quality the first 3 quarters, in defence as well. The last period was a formality for both teams, as we were already thinking of the next game. We have now won our first in the finals, and I can only hope we can repeat this sort of performance tomorrow. It is harder for Zvezda to play away from home. They are much more fluid at home. They again tried to play through Marjanovic a lot and we managed to respond well. And I hope we'll do much of the same tomorrow and be a good match for Crvena Zvezda in this element.
Malo bolje reagirali I on je morao potrošiti puno više lopti za svoju statistiku, tako da nadam se da ćemo I sutra ponoviti isto to I da ćemo odigrati ovako hrabro, čvrsto I mislim da možemo parirati Zvezdi u tom segmentu.
Well, we need to play the last quarter the way we have in the previous 3 in order to have any chance in this series. We were rebounding much better today than in the previous 2 occasions. We defended Marjanovic collectively and it paid off. And we are today's worthy winners.
Danas je bio puno bolji. Jedna kolektivna obrana na Marjanoviću. Dosta bolja nego u prve 2 utakmice. I mislim da zasluženo dobivamo priliku da idemo dalje. Govorim za još jednu utakmicu bar.
There isn't any room for any calculations as we need to repeat our attitude tomorrow, and for that we must have rest, as the one with more energy tomorrow will have the stronger chance of winning.
Izaći na identičan način kao večeras, oporaviti se što je bolje moguće u ovome kratkome vremenu, jer evidentno je da onaj što je gospodin rekao, onaj ko je uspio da više ima energije, odnosno te fizike u jednoj utakmici, slavio je u sve 3 utakmice.
I also hope the atmosphere tomorrow will be just as good as today, if not better, as the guys deserve this, and it will be easier for them to win again, with so much support coming from the stands. I congratulate the fans, and more importantly, the players, for a job well done.
Čestitam iskrenoj publici na kakva je bila, ali prije svega dečkima na određenom poslu I na zasluženoj pobjedi.
And as Repeša was hoping for, the Dom Sportova hall was sold out again, while at the other end, Dejan Radonić was happy to put his other centre, Mike Cirbes, back into play. But there was injury trouble in the home ranks, as Roko Eleni Ukic was only able to play the first 3 minutes due to neck muscle sprain, and also Marko Tomas picked up a groin injury and was only able to spend 10 minutes playing. After a few opening exchanges, Cedevita took their first lead when Tomas scored for free, but soon after that the visitors managed to do the same and take the lead of 8-7 courtesy of Branko Lazic. After Marjanovic's points, the visitors had a 10-7 lead, and that was then followed by a nice piece of collective action finished off by Marko Arapovic. This time around, Crvena Zvezda was shooting well from distance, and when Stefan Jovic was next in line to score for 3, the gap was 4 points. And when Luka Mitrovic scored his 9th point already, Crvena Zvezda had a 6-point lead for the first time. Cedevita then answered by scoring twice from distance as Nemanja Gordic closed the gap to just 2 points. But then in the last 2 seconds of the first period were pretty dramatic as Jenkins managed to score from an impossible position to give Zvezda a 5-point lead after the first 10 minutes. The visitors then opened the second period well, scoring the first 6 points, and when Jenkins stole the ball and scored from the counter-attack, they had a double-digit lead for the first time. It took 4 minutes for the home team to get going in the second period when Ivan Ramljak scored from the counter-attack. But Zvezda was relentless in this match, and by the time Boban Marjanovic scored twice, the visitors opened up a massive 18-point advantage. When Fran Pilepic scored Cedevita's only second basket from open play, the gap was still 16 points, but it was soon back to 18 when Charles Jenkins was proving lethal from distance. Ivan Ramljak then set the result after the first 20 minutes when he made it 52-35. No real change after the interval as Nemanja Dangubic corrected Jovic's missed shot with a dunk. And there was dunking at the other end as well as Barac made good use of the Gordic's assist to close the gap back to 13. But the home defense wasn't really up to the task as Cirbes was able to match Zvezda's highest lead of 18 points. Cedevita just couldn't come closer at this stage as Mitrovic was playing really well. He finished the game on 14 points and 5 rebounds in the end. It wasn't before the last minute of the third period the home team managed to close the gap slightly as Tomislav Zupčić made it 69-58 before entering the decisive 10 minutes of the match. And it was again Crvena Zvezda with a better start of the quarter as they scored twice after Cirbes' points. The lead was again 15. Then Miro Bilan gave some hope to the home fans by scoring twice in a row, but they were silenced again soon when Kalinic dunked to put Crvena Zvezda 16 points to the good. Then he was able to block Babic's attempt at the other end, but Cedevita managed to collect the ball and score for 3, courtesy of Tomislav Zupčić. That 3 again gave some hope to the home team, but right away they were pegged back when Williams was precise from distance at the other end. Then Zupčić was able to score 5 in a row and restore hope again as the gap was close to 10. And soon after that, the home team started to believe they could turn it around as Stanko Barac scored 5 successive points to further reduce the deficit to 5 points with little over 2 minutes remaining on the clock. But the killer blow then came almost immediately after that as Jenkins was again precise from distance. After that, Cirbes managed to dunk and draw a foul as well, and to add insult to the injury, Kalinic corrected his missed free throw and irreversibly decide the winner as the game eventually ended with 89-79. And as in all of the final games, the one who controlled the rebounds was the eventual winner. This time Crvena Zvezda was particularly dominant in that department as they outjumped Cedevita by as much as 36-22. Crvena Zvezda becomes the 8th champion of the ABA League and were rewarded with championship rings, while the trophy was lifted in the air by their 22-year-old captain, Luka Mitrovic. So this is a second trophy for us in the season in which I'm captain for the first time. I'm happy and proud of everyone who contributed to this success. After so many years of drought, it is hard for me to describe just how happy I am. I can't speak calmly at the moment. but you saw how the games unfolded.
Za Crvenu zvezdu posle toliko godina veliki uspeh I ne mogu još jednom da opišem koliko sam
We were in a similar situation to the one after the semi-final loss to Partizan, but we were able to concentrate and breathe as one, and that got us through in the end.
Posle poraza Partizana skupili smo se, pokazali smo nevjerojatno zajedništvo. Svi igrači na klupi, igrači na terenu su bukvalno disali kao jedan I mislim da je to ono što nas je krasilo cijele godine I što nas je dovelo do ovog.
Of course, it's a nice feeling, as I've said so many times before. We can be proud of our group, players and coaches alike. And it means a lot to me, as this is a big achievement. This is my first title in the 4th year I've been playing in this league, and I'm very proud.
Naravno smo radili veliku stvar, mislim generalno, tako da ovaj 4 puta igram ABA ligu, 4 puta igram to ABA ligu Final Four I tako da sam 4 puta osvojio I baš sam ponosan.
We are so happy after all we've been through in this long season. There were many who doubted us, but we have proved them wrong. We are the deserved winners of the ABA League, and now we need to celebrate before moving on.
Mislim sasvim zasluženo I sad nam preostaje da slavimo, a nakon toga već moramo.
We are all pleased with the achievement. It was a long season, and now we are all extremely happy. It is great to be a part of this team, but now we need to win in the domestic championship as well to close the season really well.
Hvala momcima, super je biti deo tog tima I idemo dalje, ima još domaće da osvojimo I to je to.
Finally, man. I mean, that's what we've been working for since August. And I mean, finally. I mean, that's all you can say is finally, man. I'm proud of my team. I mean, like I said, since August, we've been working hard to reach this point and finally.
You need to experience this to be able to know how it feels. This is even better as we've managed to win it in Zagreb. I'd like to thank our fans who were there for us in both these last 2 games and were pushing us forward. What can I say? It's our first ABA League title in the history of the club, and I'm very happy to be a part of this team.
Prvi trofej ABA lige u zvezdinoj istoriji. Drago mi da sam deo ovakve ekipe.
After yesterday's defeat, we responded well and were able to win with a quality performance throughout all the 40 minutes. We were great from the start, especially in defense, but were still conceding too many points. But I had faith we would control the match to the end, and in fact it was the only game of the series where the winner was more or less known from the word go. That said, Cedevita was always a good enough opponent to surprise us in our beliefs. We're sad to concede, but I have to acknowledge the fact Zvezda was a better opponent from us today. I think the first half was key, as we conceded 52 points, and in a home game that is too much. We were also having difficulties with the fact we lost 2 of our most important players to injury. We fought and gave our best, but it wasn't enough. We can't rue the fact that we lost in front of such a great crowd. We should have performed better. We knew we could match them, but we were too poor at the beginning of the game, and after falling behind by 20 points, it was hard to come back.
Međutim, prelako smo ušli u utakmicu, dali smo im prelagane poene I poslije 15-20 razlike bilo je teško vratiti.
So, what are the final results? Cedevita was able to win the 3rd game, but the final answer came the next day as Crvena Zvezda won and took the title by finishing the series with 3 wins to 1. And how about the most valuable player of the series? It is Boban Marjanovic, who had the highest ranking innings of all the players in the first 3 games of the final, with Jenkins scooping the honor in the last game. Almost 50% of all the journalists voted for Boban Marjanovic, who had an average of play index of 19.6 throughout the 8 games he played in the playoff. Now let's take a look at the best 5 actions of the final of the playoff series. At number 5, it is this crazy shot from Charles Jenkins. the end of the first period of the last game. This just might have proven to be a crucial shot in this game. Who knows? At number 4, we have this block from the counter-attack at first, but that was then rounded off by a 3 from Tomislav Zubcic. At number 3, we have this nice action passed by Marcus Williams and dunked by Mike Tirbis, and the action finished with a foul, in fact. Number 2, it is first a stolen ball and then a dunk at the other end from Marko Tomas. It is from the third game, which Cedevita has actually won emphatically. And the best actions of the playoff, it is this 3, but actually it's a try for 3 for Stefan Jovic, but corrected really well from Nemanja Tangovic, and that is from the 4th game, in which Crvena Zvezda was really no match for Cedevita, and a worthy winner in the end. And now, in the end, let's look back at the highlights of the 14th season of the ABA League. There were 2 teams featuring for the first time, Metalac from Valjevo and Levski from Sofia. The Bulgarian champion had big plans for the season, but has succumbed to unexpected financial trouble. They managed to beat Megalix in the second round, but fall into defeat in the next 24 games as the exodus of players began due to financial turmoil. They were able to finish the season, but were firmly rooted to the bottom with only 1 win to their name after 26 games. The second novice, Metalac, was forced to play their first 6 games away from home due to the reconstruction of their gym and lost the opening 5 before sensationally beating Olimpia in Ljubljana in the 6th round. After that win, they grew in confidence and were able to win in the next 4 games, and in the end even managed to grab 6th place and European qualification that came with it. And because of that, they are the surprise package of the season, more so due to the fact they played the entire season without any foreign help at all and with one of the tightest budgets of the league. One of the bigger disappointments is MZT Skopje, who started the season by appointing Slovenia's most successful coach of all time, Zmago Sagadin, but parted ways due to indifferences after only 3 rounds. MZT then got led by a record 5 different coaches throughout the season, but was still only better than Levski in the end, with only 7 wins to the end. One of the bigger letdowns was, of course, the defending champion Cibona, in spite of the fact they were never going to repeat the feat from last year due to many changes at the club. That said, the final 11th place is a disappointment. Zadar, on the other hand, can be pleased with the fact they were the playoff candidates till the end of the regular season, but in the end, they were good enough for 8th place with the same number of wins as Solnok, who was placed in 7th. Olimpia in the end grabbed 5th place and paid the price of constant oscillations, for which in the end Aleš Pipan paid the price for, as he was shown the door after a year and a half in service. But he didn't wait long for the next appointment, as he became MZT's 5th coach of the year, and after just a few days. As coincidence would have it, in his first game at the helm of the Macedonian champion, it was against his former club, who then defeated him heavily in Skopje. In the end, the 4 participants of the playoff were expected, even though it seemed Partizan would fall short after they lost a chance of playing the EuroLeague. The bulk of the team left for other clubs, and due to a blocked account, they couldn't register any new players as well. In the first 6 games, they had amassed 4 defeats, but were then able to reinforce their ranks. Milan Mačvan and Luka Bogdanovic arrived, while their captain Dragan Milosavljevic was making his return after a lengthy spell at the sidelines. After that, the black and white were able to win the next 12 games and also bring in Joshua Konyon to the vacant playmaker position. After losing to Megalex, they needed to win in Podgorica to avoid Crvena Zvezda in the playoff, but it didn't happen as Budućnost took the 2nd place in the end, and Partizan's playoff opponent would be a team which broke many a record this season. 3, in fact. First one was the number of straight wins, which was 20, then the total number of wins, which was 24, and in the end, the only 2 defeats all season. Budućnost was also able to take second place after the regular season for the first time in history of the club, which they were able to achieve in the last game against Partizan. That brought them home court advantage in the semi-final, but they couldn't make it count as they eventually fell to Cedevita's resurgence and consequently lost the chance of playing in the EuroLeague. Cedevita also had their oscillations but performed solidly in Europe and the ABA League as well, and in Europe they reached the last 16th stage of the Euro Cup. Their peak of the season remains that incredible semi-final win against Budućnost and EuroLeague placement for the second time running. And this is it for this year. Join us again in the next season where we will bring you all the best from the best in the Adriatic. But for now, it's bye-bye.